Dr. Noah St. John is known worldwide as the father of affirmations and creator of power habits for real estate professionals. Working with Hollywood celebrities, professional athletes, and eight-figure company CEOs, Noah is famous for helping real estate pros make more in just 12 weeks than they have made in the last 12 months, while winning their lives back. He's the author of 25 books and creator of Power Habits for Real Estate Professionals, a proven system that helps real estate professionals scale faster with less stress. So let's invite in Dr. Noah. Dr. Noah, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Wendell. Great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome to have you on because it's more of like a mindset driven type podcast instead of just talking about like investing period. And I think the base focus and the most important thing about just being successful in anything, it's really just mindset and how you structure, yourself personally and build yourself. So it's awesome to have you on and talk a little bit about how you help others and your aspect on it. So the way I like to get started is just to kind of introduce yourself and just broadly tell us like what you do and take it from there.
Well, I help entrepreneurs, real estate professionals, health professionals, chiropractors. I mean, really anybody who wants to make more money. I help people to really create a 7 or 8 figure freedom lifestyle business. And what I mean by that is I help people to have more money, more meaning, and more freedom in their lives, right? Those are the 3 things we all want, right? Everybody wants more money. No kidding, right? But we also want meaning. We want to have an impact. We want to help people. We want to make a difference. That's what I've seen over 30 years of helping people. And we also want to have freedom because let's face it, there's a lot of real estate professionals and entrepreneurs out there who are working really, really hard for their business, but their business isn't working hard for them. So you really got into business because you wanted freedom, but now you're really chained to this job that in many cases doesn't even pay as much as your old job. So I really help people to create that. And as a result of doing that, I've helped my clients add over $3 billion collectively over the last 30 years. That means we've helped people in all walks of life to add multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, and even 8 figures. And what's really interesting about that is I've helped my real estate clients make hundreds of millions of dollars. But what's funny about that is I don't teach people how to make money in real estate. What I do is I teach people how to stop stopping yourself from making money in real estate. And so anyway, that's what I do. And I've been doing it for a long time. And we have lots and lots of success stories and case studies of, regular people who were able to really scale up very, very quickly. And as you mentioned, like one of my coaching programs is called the 12-week breakthrough because I'm known for helping people make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months while actually winning their lives back. So it's the opposite of the hustle and the grind that we hear all the time. We hear that on social media from the hustle bros. And, look, we all have to put in the effort. We have to put in the work. But at the end of the day, we really want to install these systems so that the systems work hard for you so you don't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's awesome. So like what a lot of people watching this and listening to will probably be like, is like, how are you going to make me money in real estate specifically, right? If you don't give me like the systems or like understand like exactly what I'm investing in, et cetera. But just touch on that a little bit. So like you say that you make people, more in 12 weeks than they do in the previous 12 months just by implementing kind of your mindset and systems and things like that. Just touch about that and like maybe give like a case study or an example of like a real estate professional.
Oh, I have hundreds of those. So let me show you what I mean exactly and exactly how I do it. So this is one of my books. You mentioned I've written 25. This is a book called Power Habits. You can find that on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And on page 44, I really show you the diagram. I get right to it of really why and how I've been able to help so many people to make so much money in a short amount of time. And it really comes down to this diagram right here. I know it's hard to see, and if you're only listening, but I'll describe it to you. So it's a very simple Venn diagram. I'm such a nerd. I love Venn diagrams. I use them all the time in my business, in my coaching, because they really tell a story. When this meets that, then you get this, and if you don't have that, then you're missing that piece, and so on. Anyway, so this is a very simple Venn diagram. There's 2 connecting circles, and one of them says inner game, and one of them says outer game. All right, so let me describe that. So we have the inner game, which is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it's affecting everything that you do. For example, you mentioned that I'm a business coach, I'm a mentor, I'm also a keynote speaker. So I get to speak to real estate companies, teams, organizations all around the country and around the world, whether it's live or virtually, teams, organizations will bring me in and, do training and speaking and so forth for their teams. And, we really help them scale up very quickly. So anyway, one of the things I like to say in my keynote presentations or my workshops is to my audience members, I'll say, what is one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And here's what people will do. They'll say, and I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs affect your health, your peace of mind, your stress level. Your beliefs affect your wealth, your money, right? Your income, your business, your career. Your beliefs affect your relationships, right? Your personal life, your business life, your family life. There's literally no place that your beliefs don't affect you. But here's the funny thing. You can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief. And that's why you can be doing really well in one area of your life, but maybe you're stuck or struggling in another. For example, maybe your health is doing really well. You're doing well with your health and your, lifestyle routine, but you're not making the money you want. Or conversely, maybe you're making great money, but your health is suffering or your relationships are suffering. You see, so it's not cookie cutter, one size fits all. It's a very customized, personalized approach that we take with our clients, whether it's with one-on-one or in our group coaching programs. So that's your inner game. And then you have your outer game, right? So your outer game is everything you can see directly. That's all the system strategies, all the sales marketing stuff that you've probably spent tons of time, money, and effort studying. But here's the funny thing. It's only when you put together your inner game and your outer game that you have the phenomenon called success. Let me give you a specific example. I was working with a real estate professional. Her name's Tamisa. She's out in Arizona. She got great personality. Everybody loves her. And she is what she described herself as a seminar junkie. She was a self-described seminar junkie, meaning she was going to all these real estate seminars, and she was doing well. She was doing 6 figures in her business, so doing fine, but she just couldn't scale up. She kept hitting, as I call it, that income ceiling, right? Just had a ceiling on her income, no matter how many seminars, how many coaches, how many gurus, just kept hitting that same income ceiling. Now, a friend told her about me, and she decided to join my 12-week breakthrough program. And what happened was, as I was teaching her about the connection between inner game and outer game, in the first 2 weeks of coaching with me, she tripled her investment. She literally tripled in 2 weeks. We hadn't even gotten to the money part yet, right? So that shows you just how powerful this is, that if you don't master your inner game along with your outer game, you're really going to have that income ceiling. So that's really what I've been able to do for so many people. And that's why we've helped people make over $3 billion collectively.
Heck yeah. So it's more of like it's more like building yourself personally, right? It's not really like focusing on just your business as a whole. It's more just making systems in like your life, or is it at the same time making systems within your business better just by changing your mind frame? Is that kind of what you do? You like open up people's mind a little bit more to be like, hey, let's introduce these systems so you can kind of scale better there, spend your time more effectively here, and that allows you to like break through and break that income barrier. Because I feel like a lot of real estate professionals feel like they have to do everything, right? So like they're doing the bookkeeping, they're doing the underwriting, they're doing the showings, they're doing the everything, right? And they feel like they have to because no one else can do it better than you, right? But to break through, you have to actually, systemize, and to scale, you have to get other people involved. Is that kind of like what you go through with people and talk about as well?
Yeah, that's a big, big part of it. You just touched on the classic, or one of the classic entrepreneurial mistakes that I talk about in my coaching programs, like the 12-week breakthrough. And that is the inability or unwillingness of so many entrepreneurs and real estate professionals to delegate. Because as you just said, the entrepreneur starts their business because you are probably really good at this. You could do everything. But that's the problem. Because you're good at it, you do everything. And that is one of the things that's causing your income ceiling. As I always tell my clients and my audience members in my keynote presentations and my workshops, Richard Branson doesn't fly the planes, right? We all know Richard Branson from Virgin Airlines, right? Well, he's got 100 companies. How the heck do you think he does that, right? And I mean, let's face it, if you ever hear Richard Branson or watch interviews with him, you go, okay, and I mean, I've studied him along with many other successful, super successful people. And what I realize is Richard Branson's job, you know what his job is? It's to walk around and be charming. That's his job. Walk around and be charming and have great hair. Okay, Richard, thanks a lot. And he's a billionaire. Okay, great. But see how that's the opposite of what most entrepreneurs and real estate professionals are doing. Now, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Now, listen, I understand if you're just starting out, you don't have any money, right? So you're like, well, I got to do everything. And yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I started my company, successclinic.com, 30 years ago in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 to my name and a book on HTML. I mean, that's all I had. I had nothing. I had no business, no marketing, no sales skills, no funnels. The only funnels we had were funnel cake. There was nothing. It was like trying to build a house with a rock and some sticks. We had nothing. Certainly not like all the tools and the AI and everything that we have today, right, at our disposal. The problem is, number one, most people still think they have to do everything. So that's the problem of delegation I was talking about. Number two, they don't really know what the tools are that they should be using. But even more importantly, number three, most entrepreneurs and real estate professionals, they don't really have a solid plan, right? To really not only build your business, yes, but as I stated right at the beginning, to have the money, the meaning, and the freedom, right? So that's exactly what we're talking about, the freedom. Because if you're doing everything, it's obvious you're chained to that job, right? And it is a job, even though, oh, I have a business. No, you don't. You got a job, right? Yeah. And so that's what we help people. So that's what the systems are. They're inner game systems, which is what we build first. And then we layer upon that the outer game systems. And that's what causes that hockey stick growth. I'll give you another perfect example of this. I was talking with one of my clients named Charles, and he actually read my book, Power Habits. He, had been studying my videos on YouTube and, really consuming my content. And then he contacted me and I asked him, I said, Charles, how much do you think it's costing you to not have these systems in place for you right now? And without batting an eye, he said $1 million. He said, no, it's easily going to cost me $1 million if I don't put these inner game and outer game systems in place like you talk about. And I said, Charles, that's really common. I talk to people every day who tell me that, it's costing me $500,000, million, $2 million or more. And I said, so why don't you just give me 10% of that million and I'll find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. So he did that. He actually invested $100K to get one-on-one coaching from me, for a year. And because that's 10% of $1 million, right? So I coached him. We installed these systems. Now, as it turns out, I didn't find him an extra $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him an extra 1.8 million in just 10 months. So he gave me $1 and I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. And in fact, he sent me an email. He said, hey, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on a 7-week vacation right now. He said, this is a dream I've had for the last 20 years. I've always wanted to buy an RV and go on a, country, just drive around the country with my wife, but I never had the time or the money before. So now because of your coaching, I have the more time and more money than I've ever had in my life. So made all this money and we're taking 7 weeks off driving the country. He literally said, thank you, Noah, for changing my life. So that's how powerful these systems really are.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's really all about like you doing it yourself too. Cause I'm sure, do you ever like have people that, you give them all the tools and everything, and they just don't utilize it correctly and then it doesn't really work. But like, it's really about taking what you're providing as a coach and doing it themselves. Cause what's that saying? Like you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. So like when you work with people or when you start like trying to see who you want to coach or mentor, do you like make sure that they're like all in before you kind of do it? Because I'm sure if you work with someone and they, pay you a good chunk of change to like get a mentorship or coaching and then they don't succeed because of technically them not doing it, I'm sure it's just not a great experience for everybody involved. Like, what do you work with specific people or do you make sure that like people have certain criteria? Talk a little bit about that. Cause I'm sure like you don't want to work with someone that isn't going to actually follow through, right?
Well, I can tell you that with my one-on-one, we've never had that happen in 30 years, literally not one time ever. And the reason is, yeah, they're investing a lot of money. And if you're investing a lot of money, you're going to do what I tell you. They're involved. They're invested. They're like, let's do it, Noah. And that's why I love action takers. And I have so many examples of that. So what I do is I have 3 levels of really helping people, adding value. And that is we have the do it yourself, we have the done with you, and then we have done for you. All right. So the do it yourself is for the person that really has more time than money, right? They're like, okay, Noah, I get everything you're saying. I understand how important this is. I understand how vital it is. But right now I don't have a lot of money. So can you help me? And I go, yeah. So we have programs like Power Habits Academy, like Seven Figure Machine. You can just go to my website, go to noahstjohn.com, and you can just look at the different programs we have. So that's for the do-it-yourselfers. Nothing wrong with that. And that's, what we have. And I've had that for many, many years. We've had thousands of people go through those programs. Then the middle one is we have Done With You. So that's like the 12-week breakthrough program, right? So like I was talking about Tamisa, who tripled her investment in 2 weeks, right? Another real estate investor that I coached. His name's Tim. He's down in Florida, and he had basically retired from his, what he was doing, but he wanted to get back into the business and do something different. But he was telling himself that he couldn't do it, or he was holding himself back out of fear. Well, we installed these systems for him, and he was able to create $1 million company in less than 2 years, as a result of this coaching. So that's the Done With You. And then we have the Done For You, right? So we actually help people and we actually build it for them. Like, for example, I have a book done for you service. We have a funnel done for you service. And that's what the one-on-one is like. We call that Noah Mentor, right? So if you go to noahmentor.com, you can learn more about the Done For You. All right. So that is the 3 levels of service. Why do we provide that? Well, because there's 3 types of people, right? There's people that have more time than money. That's a lot of people. There's people who really, want some help. They want that group engagement, like Tamisa, like Tim. And then the people like Charles who are like, dude, let's just do this. Let's go, and let's just get it done. I want to go and I'm ready to go. And yeah, I have the money to invest in that. So that's why we have those 3 levels. But yeah, when you're invested at that top level, you're going to do what I tell you and you're going to get incredible results. We've literally never had one single person that's not had results at that level for that precise reason.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like paying for mentorship or coaching. It's you got to put skin in the game, because when you put skin in the game, you're actually going to do, what the mentor or coach says, and then you'll realize, hey, it actually does work.
That's right.
But if you just kind of paying like other coaching programs and mentorships where it's like not that much money, and then you end up not doing it, and you say like, hey, this doesn't work because you don't have enough skin in the game. So it's kind of like, when lenders look at an investor, they want you to put skin in the game. So they want you to put a down payment, because then you're going to get it done, because then otherwise they'll take the house from you and your down payment. It's
right.
So it makes you actually do what you said you're going to do.
That's what we call incentive. Yeah.
Yeah. So relating that back to real estate,
Exactly.
So there's another question I wanted to ask that I've seen you bring up a lot. It's something that you call head trash. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to like explore that and what you mean by that, and like how does that like stop people from growing their business and their income and set like barriers in front of them? Like, what is that?
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned earlier that I've written 25 books. You can see some of them behind me here. And, my books are published in 18 languages around the world. And I've basically written 25 books about this one subject, which is how to take out the trash in your head that's holding you back, right? Because that's affecting billions and billions of people all around the planet. So really, for everyone listening to this program, I want you to think about your goals, right? Everybody talks about goals. We've heard this a million times, right? Set your goals and think positive and write it down and do a vision board. Okay, we've heard that a million times. And what's interesting about that is they're half right. Okay, when people say that, they're half right, meaning we really do have to set goals, right? We humans are goal-oriented organisms. We are constantly, continually thinking about and projecting what do we want into the world. And so whether that is a new house, whether that's to make more money, whether that's a new car, whether it's a ham sandwich for lunch, we're always thinking about what is it that I want. So that part is correct. The problem is they got it half wrong. And what I mean by that is what happens after you set the goal. So let's just take an example. Let's just say, your goal is, well, Noah, I want to get from making 10,000 a month to 100,000 a month, right? So that's a common goal. It's a great goal, right? So, I've been at like this 10K for a while. Now I want to get to 50 or 100K a month, but I also want to still have my life. I don't want to be chained to my business like you're talking about. I go, okay, well, that's great. So that's a great goal. Let's just use that as an example. All right. So, hey, man, I want to go from 10K to 100K a month. That's my goal, Noah. All right, great. But here's what they don't talk about. This is what they don't tell you. And that is what happens after you set the goal. And what I mean by that is, what most people do after they set that goal? Hey, Noah, I want to go from 10K to 100K a month. They go, I probably can't do it. Yeah. That's going to be too hard, man. I don't have the time. I don't have the money, right? I can't afford it. I don't know who to trust. I've tried everything already, man. I've been to all these seminars, all these gurus, they all say the same thing, and I've tried everything already. So I don't think I can do it. So do you see what just happened? You literally just set a goal, and then you immediately said, I can't do it. So guess what? That's what I call your head trash.
Yeah.
That's the trash in your head that says, I can't do it because. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to make yourself right. We humans have an infinite capacity to make ourselves right. And there's an old saying that was attributed to Henry Ford, who said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Now, here's how I updated that statement. With all due respect to Mr. Ford, I updated that statement for the new millennium. And here's what I've been teaching my clients for many years. And that is, whether you believe you can do it or you believe you can't do it, you're going to make yourself right. You're going to make yourself right. And what do I mean by that? So, you have your goal, get from 10K to 100K a month. Great. I can't do it. Great. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to do not a damn thing. You're going to say, well, you know what? I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But you know what? I think I'll go watch Netflix. Cool, man. Then you're right. You won't do it. You just proved yourself right. Congratulations. Yay. So this is what I always say to my audience members, in my keynotes, my workshops, and my coaching class. I say, this is one area of your life where you don't want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see if you can be wrong for once, meaning maybe I'm wrong thinking I can't do this thing that I said I want. Yeah. What if you were wrong? What if you could do it? Huh? Right. So what I'm doing is I'm just opening that door to possibility just a little bit. We've all heard that phrase, big doors swing on small hinges. This is a very small hinge, but it's a huge door called the door to your new life. Let me give you another perfect example. I was speaking at a seminar in Los Angeles for 1,000 entrepreneurs. These are 7 and 8 figure CEOs, VPs, highly successful people. I was just finishing my presentation. I was walking off the stage. A man came up to me out of the audience and he said, Noah, you are the coach I've been looking for. I want to hire you as my coach. Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. True story. You can see his video on my website. True story. Anyway, so I said, okay, what's going on? He said, Noah, well, I own this company. We got to 7 figures in revenue, but we have been stuck at the 7 figures for the last 4 years. 4 years we've been stuck. And he said, I have thrown everything at this problem. I've spent so much money. I hired every marketing guru, spent tens of thousands of dollars on all these gurus. He said, but we can't break through that ceiling. And he said, as soon as I heard you speak about head trash and, foot on the brake and inner game, outer game, everything you just said, he said, I knew you were the coach I've been looking for. So he literally decided to hire me on the spot. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and friendly. Don't dilly-dally. Oh, I got to think about it. Let me talk to my spouse. No, let's just do it, right? So he decided to hire me. I coached him and his leadership team for 18 months. And in that 18 months, do you know that we were able to get his company that had been flatlined for the past 4 years to over 20 million in revenues, 600% growth in less than 18 months. Most companies would be thrilled with a 10% growth. How would you like 600%? All right, that's what we call hockey stick growth, right? You're going along like this, and then we put in my magic, and then whoosh, right through the roof. So the point of the story is that is what I taught him was what I've been teaching for 30 years, right? The main reasons that I've helped people make $3 billion is because of what I'm saying right now. Putting these inner game and outer game systems in place, you get that hockey stick growth, and you become unstoppable.
Yeah, and it's like that saying, like, you are your own worst enemy, right? It's because when you get, so there's a couple of things I feel like once you get complacent, once you get to like that first goal that you have, you get complacent, and then all of a sudden you're like, this isn't too bad, right? And that's head trash coming in, right? And then you're like, well, I would like to get to like here, but then your inner subconscious, which I actually call your inner bitch, to be honest, is trying to keep you down, keep you like where you're complacent, where you're happy, where you're comfortable,
That's right?
Even though your mind, your other subconscious is like, hey, I want to get to this spot. It's kind of like the devil and like the angel on your shoulders, right?
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like one is saying like, I want to go there. And the other one's like, you don't need
That's
to.
right.
Like, you're fine. This is fine. And it's also so hard to go there. You want to go through all that stuff again? Why? And it's like, you just want to break through with your mental and be like, hey, I have to take some risks. I have to risk this comfortableness too to get to that next spot. But I did it before in a smaller scale. It's the same thing at the bigger scale. You just got to do it. And it's a lot to overcome for sure, right? And it's a big thing to overcome because you're talking to yourself all day. So you're the person that's talking to yourself. But
Right.
if you're yourself is talking head trash, it's you're
Right.
constantly giving yourself uh pessimism, right? Not
That's
optimism.
right.
And that's what holds you back the most. So I love that you talk about that because not a lot of people talk about that or realize that. And even like the best entrepreneurs, right? The very successful ones, they run into that every day. That thing that subconscious is talking to them every day, but they just know how to say, hey, that means I'm going the right direction, right? You flip the
Right.
script because you're like, hey, my subconscious is saying you should stay here. You know, it's gonna be so hard to do that. That's when you kind of know that you're going the right direction because you're growing. You're
Yeah.
going against, against the grain.
That's
So I
right.
love that you talk about that. And do you find also like talking to a lot of like real estate professionals or entrepreneurs that the head trash usually comes in once they meet like their first big goal? Is that like when it revs up the most, or is it like initially always there? Like, and how do you make them come to the realization like that's what it is, right? And like you just have to push through it. Like how do you kind of change someone's mindset to get over that subconscious and tell it's just like,
Mhm.
shut up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I call the spiral staircase of success. Okay. So to use me as an example, I mentioned that, I started my company 30 years ago in a 300 square foot basement apartment with no money, no skills, no marketing, no nothing. And, all these years later, now I live in a 6,000 square foot mansion on a hill with my beautiful wife. And because of my very power habit system that I've been teaching my clients, I was able to pay off the mortgage on this house 27 years early. So that's a big thing for a lot of people who, want to pay off their debts and so on and so on. Right. So the point is, I'm living proof that anybody can do this. I mean, I
Mhm.
started with nothing and I didn't have the support, right, that I now give to my clients. I had to do it all by myself. I was the first guinea pig of my own system. I first had to test it on me before I could tell anybody else about it. And yes, it did work and it does work. And now it's worked in over 2 million cases around the world. So the point is that the spiral staircase, as I call it, when I started, I mean, I had nothing. So getting any money was like, wow, money. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. But then after a while, you're like, okay, well, maybe you want a little more, right? You want to keep walking up that spiral staircase. And that makes it harder on the one hand, because yeah, you're reaching to a new level of success, but you also have it easier. And everybody listening to this program has it much easier than I do because you can go to me, right? I'm the guy that wrote all the books. So you can go to noahstjohn.com, go to powerhabitsrealestate.com. We have so many resources for you for this precise reason, because there's tens of millions of people who are just like me. I wrote these books for me because I had read 300 self-help books that all said the same thing and didn't help. And so that's why I was like, man, I guess I gotta write a book. And then I wrote 24 more books, because why not? So anyway, the point is that, yeah, what the power habit system enables you to do is to, number one, recognize the head trash that is, in fact, holding you back. And by the way, it's invisible. You're not really aware of it. It is in the subconscious. In other words, no one wakes up in the morning and says, wow, this looks like a great day. You know what? I think I'll hold myself back from success today. Right? No one would ever say that, right? That would be idiotic. But see, that because that's a conscious thought, right? Oh, let me do that. No, you're not thinking it. It's in the subconscious. However, we're dealing with the iceberg of human consciousness, right? I'm sure most people listening have heard the iceberg principle, which says that only about 5% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions are in the conscious mind, right? Just like an iceberg, you see about 5% above the surface. The vast 95% is hidden, it's below the surface. That's the subconscious. But as I always tell my audience members and my clients, it wasn't the part of the iceberg that they could see that sunk the Titanic. It was the part they didn't see that
Mhm.
sunk the Titanic. And that's what's sinking all of us too. So that's the part we have to get to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a perfect analogy is the iceberg because like you don't even realize that you're doing it sometimes. And like I have it all the time. I think every human has it. Like even like waking up in
Yes.
the morning, waking up early to go to the gym. This is a perfect example. Like you wake up, you open your eyes in the morning, and you're just like, uh I might just sleep a little more. But like that's your subconscious being like,
That's right.
hey, this bed's really comfy. You should probably just like stay in. You probably feel better. But
That's right.
every single time that I like have missed the gym and just slept in another hour or whatever, I wake up and I feel terrible. But when I
Yeah,
go to the gym and force myself to do it, I feel fantastic the rest of the day.
that's right.
So that's like a great example that goes with like anything in life and even your business. It's like if you just do what you told yourself you're going to do, you're gonna feel a lot better. A big thing too, I feel like, is talking about head trash is I think anxiety is a huge it's been just a lot more like, popular to talk about, and it's
Mhm.
brought a lot of
Yep.
things people just talk about a lot more because it's always been around, right? But I think like the number one cause of anxiety basically is like your subconscious telling you to do something and you just don't do it, right? So it's
Mhm.
kind of like pushing on the gas but pushing on the brake at the same time, and that's what causes anxiety. So do you find that even when you help people get through this head trash and stuff, I'm sure you deal with people all the time that have just massive amounts of anxiety because they can't grow their business, they feel stuck.
Mhm.
Do you find that like relieves them of that stress, that anxiety, and all of a sudden once they're free of that, that's what really helps them like explode and just like do a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
better and successful?
Yeah, that's a huge point of it. I'm really glad you brought that up, Wendell, because I've been telling people for years, look, I've been talking about mental health for 3 decades.
Mm,
But prior to the pandemic, you couldn't say mental health,
yeah.
right? If you said mental health, people would say, oh, send them to the loony bin. Oh, you're talking about crazy people. Yeah, right. That's what no. But see, you literally couldn't say the phrase mental health. But you know what changed was number one, the pandemic, in 2020, we all remember that.
Mm,
And now you could talk about mental health. And number two is celebrities. Celebrities started talking about it, right? Lady Gaga, Michael Phelps, Kevin Love, all Adele, just literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these big celebrities started talking about mental health. They're like, oh, yeah, mental health. I'm like, thanks a lot, guys. I've been teaching this for 30 years. Welcome to the party. Nothing like showing up late you know but no, I mean, I really appreciate that these celebrities are doing that because it's like, oh yeah, that thing over there, yeah, I've been telling you guys for 30 years, good luck. But anyway, so yeah, it's very, very powerful. It's really important. I'll give you another perfect example from one of my real estate clients. His name's Brian, and when I started coaching him, he was living in Boston and not, again, doing well, but kept hitting that income ceiling. And also, he, wanted to lose some weight. He tried a lot of things to lose weight, but he just felt like he could lose some weight, lose a few pounds. Well, so I taught him my power habit system. I coached him in the 12-week breakthrough. And not only did he lose weight, and he's kept it off all these years, he made $95,000 in commissions in 12 days, not 12 weeks, not 12 months, 12 days. Okay. So, how would you like to make a cool 100 grand in commissions in 12 days? Pretty sweet, right? Talk about an ROI. Yeah, you're welcome. But not only that, now, because, he got out of his own way, I taught him how to take out his head trash. He not only lost the weight, made more money. Now he lives and has a very thriving real estate company in Aruba. So Boston to Aruba, you're welcome.
love
So
it.
that's another perfect example. Doesn't have to have those chilly winters anymore. It's like,
Oh yeah.
dude, so I see him now. He's all wearing Hawaiian shirts. I'm like, you're welcome, buddy. Keep it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to live in New England as well, and I moved down to the Carolinas because I was sick of the weather.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, get me out of there.
Yep.
Great place though. I mean,
I
Boston's
grew up
amazing.
in Maine, so I know exactly what it's like. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm well aware. Now I live in the balmy state of Ohio. Isn't it beautiful? So I love
beautiful. Well, awesome. I don't want to keep you
it.
here too long. It's been about, I know you're super busy,
Yep.
and I always like to leave off with like just a few questions. And I leave with two, right? So
Okay.
the first one is usually out of. I know you're gonna pick one of your books when I ask you this. I usually say like, "What's a great book to read?" But let's do one book of your books that you think is an amazing book that someone should first read, like that you've written, right? That would get them going. And then let's do one that isn't your book that you
Sure.
think is a great book that changed your mindset as well. So let's.
Absolutely. Well, I could start with the book that isn't mine. And because people ask me that all the time. And the book that got me into this business that I've been doing now for a long time is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen
Oh, yeah.
Covey. It's a classic in self-help, and it really was the impetus and the inspiration for me doing the work that I do now. And so for those of you that have read The 7 Habits, the next book that you want to read is Power Habits by this guy. So this is powerhabitsbook.com or anywhere books are sold. In fact, Charles, who I talked to you about earlier, that client who I made 1.8 million in 10 months, he actually told me that he was in Barnes and Noble and walked by this book, walked by my Power Habits book 3 times. He kept walking by it. And finally, he said something called out to me. He said, I had to get this book. And that's, the impetus that led him to me and to, adding $2 million in 10 months. So powerhabitsbook.com. Those are the 2 books.
Love it. And then I always just like to give you the floor at the end,
Mhm.
just to tell people about how to reach out to you, different sites. I know you have a lot of sites, you have different
Yeah.
specific sites for different professionals. And if you have any events, if you have any like speaking engagements you're going to do, just this floor is yours. Just let people
Okay.
know how they can contact you.
Great. If you want to get my Power Habits for Real Estate Professionals, that's an online course. Just go to powerhabitsrealestate.com. Easy to remember. Powerhabitsrealestate.com. And if you want to book me to, speak to your organization, your team, to really get that hockey stick growth, just go to booknoah.com. Easy to remember. Who should we book? Booknoah.com. So those are 2 ways to get in touch with me.
I love it. And I'll put that in the bio below for everybody that is listening or watching. And thank you for coming on, Dr. Noah. And yeah, can't wait to continue seeing what you do and keep in touch.
Sounds great. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this hits home for you, it's because the real problem isn't your funnels or your ads, it's the head trash that's keeping you stuck. That's why I've helped people just like you to add over $3 billion by eliminating the head trash that was holding them back. So if you want to be done with head trash once and for all, go to donewithheadtrash.com and sign up for my Done with Head Trash program right now, because it's time for you to be done with head trash too. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Dr. Noah St. John from donewithheadtrash.com, and I look forward to being a part of your success story.